What's going on, everybody? The Germ here in Chappaqua or Newcastle. Is this considered? I don't know. But we're basically in the hometown of former President Bill Clinton. This is my childhood president. Super excited to be down here to see the president. I've been wanting to do this for years, and I'm hoping to get him to sign my Bill Clinton Pez dispenser. That would be super cool if he does that. The parade starts at 10:45, so it's starting soon. And they said they should be down here somewhere around 11 o'clock. So it's super exciting.
You love a fire shop.
Madam Supervisor, the parade is formed and prepared to commence our Memorial Day ceremonies. Thank you. Parade! Order! Arms! Parade! At ease! I'd like to welcome Cantor Turia Stark to the podium from Chappaqua for our invocation.
the safety and freedoms we hold dear. In the Jewish tradition, we honor the departed by saying, Zichronam livracha, may their memories be for a blessing. Meaning, may we honor their lives, their legacies, the positive influence they had on their loved ones, their communities, our country, and the ripple effect their lives had on the entire world. May their memories and their courage be an enduring source of inspiration and strength to us always. On this Memorial Day, perhaps we can honor our fallen's memories and sacrifices best by performing acts of loving kindness in their honor and hoping to pave a way toward a more just and peaceful world. A world where war will no longer be necessary. As the prophet Isaiah wrote, Lo yisagoy el goy cherech, v'lo yiladu od milchama. We look forward to the day when nations shall not raise a sword against another nation, neither shall they learn war anymore.
Thank you, Karen Stark. It was beautiful. Next, in keeping with tradition, I'd like to ask all parents to hug their sons and daughters, and all sons and daughters to hug their parents. For your Memorial Day, this special day, there are parents that cannot hug their sons and daughters, and sons and daughters who cannot hug their parents, for they paid the ultimate price and sacrificed their lives for our freedom. So commence hugging. Now I'd like to ask all veterans in the audience and all the Old Star families to raise their hands so we can recognize your service to our country. You are greatly appreciated. Next, I'd like to thank President Clinton and Secretary Clinton for attending, as they have for so many years, well over 2 decades. We really appreciate your attendance and being here. I'd be remiss if I did not thank our police department, our Chappaqua and Millwood Fire Departments, the Parks Department, and by Walter Cross. Thank you, Walter. Always do such a fantastic job with this. The EMS first responders, of course, Rob Geary, Lauren Cascone from our town hall, and our supervisor, Vicki Tipp, as well as David Egerton, Dr. Michael Finkelstein, and Eric Rosenfeld, who serve on the committee with me to prepare for this parade. Big round of applause for all of them. And I'd also like to tip the cap and give a salute to Jill Shapiro, who retired, a well-deserved retirement after so many years serving our town. So thank you, Jill. She's not here tonight. She's our town administrator. And then, of course, the lovely Reverend Dr. Martha Jacobs. Martha retired also, so we lost 2 incredible soldiers serving our town. Speaking of amazing residents of our town, I'd like to recognize one Captain Jim McCauley, Vietnam veteran, Green Beret, 2 tours of Vietnam. Please give it up. Round of applause for Jim McCauley. He does so much for our town, and like most Green Berets, it's very stealth. You don't know he's working so hard. So at this point, I'd like to welcome Captain McCauley up to the podium for special recognition of our Vietnam veterans.
Thank you. This year is the 50th anniversary of the end of the Vietnam War. So American troops were no longer in combat after 1973, and the next 2 years were back and forth, and then in 1975, the Saigon fell and the North took over the South. There were 58,000, I think it's 479 soldiers killed in that war. We have 2 which we will recognize from Chappaqua. We will recognize them a little bit later. And I also have several friends from the local area. I grew up just down the street, but spent a lot of time in Chappaqua. I'd like to recognize Bill Rod, who was here with me. He was on the riverboat. Very dangerous profession, going up and down the Mekong River and other tributaries. Joe Bungalow, who has been had a metal plate in his head since 1965. He's still with us, just wasn't feeling really well today, and he committed to come. Also, Bob Tate, who also served with us at that same period of time, as well as Chappaqua resident Gerard Chappaqua and his family. One of his uncles is on the memorial, the World War II memorial. Gerard also served in Vietnam, and unfortunately he was planning on coming to be with us. 2 of his nephews are here from out of town, one back there from Florida, and another nephew is somewhere around. They both served in the wars on terror, and Gerard unfortunately was hospitalized yesterday, and we wanted to recognize him, his family, and also we had a very poignant letter we're not going to read, just a little too long, to his grandfather, from a fellow soldier in France during World War I. And the fellow soldier had been gassed. So this is a family that served in all of our conflicts since World War I to the present. So they deserve a great round of applause. Thank you very much. Just one last thing. Vietnam Veterans of America, Chapter 49, here in Westchester. At 2 o'clock this afternoon, we read the names of the 218 men from Westchester who were killed in Vietnam. So if any of you are free, if your barbecues are over or whatever, we don't have any food in there. It's a very poignant ceremony, and we try to remember our fellow soldiers. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Thank you, Captain Jim McCauley, and all of our Vietnam veterans. One more round of applause for Jim. Jack, 1, 2.
You're doing well.
Check 1, 2, check 1, 2.
Time for a new one.
He was like thumbs up on the camera. Volume?
All right, we're Americans. We're not Americanauts. So we're going to drive on. I'm going to try and use my projection voice. Nothing can stop Americans. Oh, here we go. Thank you, guys. We got the weather, and now the mic's working again. At this point, I'd like you all to join me in silence as we listen to our favorite bagpipe player, Kevin Moore, playing Amazing Grace. I'd also like to thank our town board and certain dignitaries who've attended here. We have Damian Garcia from the office of Kirsten Gillibrand. We also have Peter Harcum, our own New York State Senator. We have New York State Assemblyman Chris Burdick in attendance, as well as our own Westchester County Executive Ken Jenkins. Last but not least, we have Iris Weintraub, who is the aide to Chairman of the Westchester County Board of Legislators, Vidat Gashi. Please, round of applause for all of those who are joining us today. At this point in the program, one of my favorite parts of the program is to call up our own Girl Scouts, and we're going to have oral histories of actual Newcastle veterans who served and gave their lives for our country. And I'd like to call up Layla Lewis and Harper Finley from Girl Scout Troop 2719.
Today I'm reading about William Vance Moss. William Vance Moss was born on November 2nd, 1945 in Pine Bluff, Arkansas. His family later moved to Chappaqua, where they lived on Millwood Road. As a teenager, William attended Horace Greeley High School with his brother, Arthur. He played basketball and soccer, and he was exceptionally good at it, according to his brother. He left Greeley to attend a private school in upstate New York, graduating in June 1963. In 1964, he left home for basic training at Paris Island to become a Marine. After completing basic, he transferred to the 1st Infantry Training Battalion at Camp Leechu.
Let everyone know, Layla, that you can be as loud as you want.
North Carolina. Once he was thoroughly prepared to perform his duties as a Marine, he was assigned to the 1st Marine Division, 7th Marine Regiment, as a photo interpreter in a headquarters company. His unit arrived in Vietnam on December 1st, 1965. Almost immediately they moved out, becoming part of Operation Harvest Moon, a major offense operation designed to clear the Viet Cong out of the area of Chu Nai and Da Nang. On December 18th, the last leg of its long trek to their destination, units of the 2nd Battalion encountered heavy resistance near the village of Kai Fu. The Viet Cong enemy allowed Company G, the lead unit of the column, to pass through the village and then opened up with a heavy volume of small arms fire. Enemy mortars began to drop on William Moss's company in the open rice paddies. 2 companies of the Viet Cong attempted to enter the gap created between Company F and the headquarters, and supply company to split the Marine units. The battle between the opposing forces raged on for several hours until the enemy was beaten at their attempt to destroy the Marines and retreated into the darkness of the night. They left 104 of their dead on the battlefield. Regrouping in the defensive perimeter, the Marines evacuated their dead and wounded comrades. Corporal Moss was found wounded in the rice paddy. He was first evacuated to Chu Lai that night, then to Da Nang. A day later, he was transferred to the hospital Clark Air Force Base in the Philippines. He died there on December 21st, 1965, of the gunshot wounds he had sustained. He is buried at Arlington National Cemetery. He received the Purple Heart, Republic of the Vietnam Service Medal, Republic of the Vietnam Campaign Service Medal, and the National Defense Service Medal. His name can be found on Vietnam War Memorial in Washington, D.C., Panel 4E, line 33. On the Wall of Faces, a website dedicated to honoring and remembering every person whose name is inscribed on the Vietnam Veterans Memorial in Washington, D.C., a friend, Michael A. Newton, wrote this note. I will remember you always, Bill, and visit you at the wall. We were friends from Chappaqua and Horse Greeley High School. I watched you mature in the Marines, liked what I saw in you, and followed your example into the corps the summer after you were killed. Semper Fi, old friend.
Great job, Layla. Thank you so much. Big round of applause for Layla Lewis. And now we're privileged to hear from Harper Finley.
Hugh Winter Halter was born on October 8, 1933. His father was the famous big band leader Hugo Winter Halter, who composed and produced many popular tunes in the 1940s and 50s. The Winter Halter family moved into Chappaqua in 1950 and lived on Spring Lake. His parents had hopes of him in following the footsteps of his musical father because by the time he graduated from high school in 1952, he was well versed in piano, saxophone, and the clarinet. After high school, Hugh worked selling records to radio stations for RCA Records, where his father was employed. In May 1953, Hugh was drafted into the army because the Korean War was winding down. He was sent to West Germany to serve with the 26th Infantry Regiment of the 1st Infantry Division, Lake Rising. For 2 years, he served on machine gun crew, training and preparing for combat as the Cold War was heating up in Europe. This is where he met Marguerite Munch, a West German citizen. When his tour of duty ended, he left the army and returned home, but not before he married Marguerite. His new wife sailed over on Queen Mary and arrived in New York in March 1955. They began their married life together by living with his parents in Spring Lake. Hugh restarted his civilian career by working as a recording engineer for his old firm, RCA Records, from 1954 to 1960. Whether he was not satisfied with following his father in the music business or he missed the army life, Hugh quit his job and re-enlisted in the army. But this time he would go to Vietnam with the 20th Aerial Artillery Regiment, 1st Air Cavalry Division as a helicopter door gunner. In this role, he experienced the dangers and horrors of combat, but he endured it and was even awarded the Air Medal with 6 Oak Leaf Clusters for heroism during aerial flight. He was also awarded the Armed Forces Honor Medal, second class for recognition of non-combat achievements, such as training South Vietnamese troops. In April 1966, at the end of his tour, he returned to the United States and soon after re-enlisted. This time he was into the 169th Engineering Battalion, 20th Engineering Brigade, a unit just shipping out to Vietnam. They would be responsible for construction around Saigon, Long Binh, and Long Tan. If needed, the engineers could also fight as infantry. Private First Class Winter Halter used his time to enhance his skills by training as a radio operator, construction machine operator, and heavy weapons On December 29, 1966, Private First Class Winter Halter was participating in a land clearing mission outside the burn base at Baranat near Yeonhwa City. The engineers were pushing down trees to create a wider field of fire for the base. Winter Halter was operating a bulldozer when a tree limb broke loose and fell directly on his head. He was not wearing a steel helmet, nor was there a steel cage over the bulldozer's seat. Winter Halter suffered a fatal head injury in the incident. His body was covered in a poncho and carried by stretcher to the Demonstration Collection Point at Camp Bearcat. A helicopter was requested and the remains were flown to the base at Long Binh before being returned to the U.S. Private First Class Hugh Francis Winterhalter was 33 years old in the time of his death. His family requested that he be buried at Arlington National Cemetery with a military funeral. His name can be found on the Vietnam War Memorial in Washington, D.C. on Channel 1313E, line 101.
Great job.
Thank you, Leila Lewis and Girl Scout Troop 2719 for helping us remember those that gave their lives for our freedom. Another round of applause. At this point in the program, as tradition dictates, we'd like to honor those killed in action from our town who have their names right here on the monument. I will start off with World War I veterans who were killed in action, Sante Felizola and Frederick Wallington. I'd like to call Dr. Mike Finkelstein up for World War II veterans killed in action.
World War II, David Chittenden, Richard Cook, David Corrigan, James Corsi, Ralph Gunsberg Jr., Gerard Hill, Thomas Hill, Peter Lynch, Erwin Orzer, Gustav Ruckert Jr., Robert Slater, William Biscomi, Max Weinberg, Andre Whalen, and Edward White Jr.
Thank you, Dr. Finkelstein. Now I'd like to call Captain Jim McCauley up to the podium for the Korean War and Vietnam War veterans killed in action.
Thank you, Peter. Korean War, Charles Puget. Vietnam War, William Moss, Hugo Winterhalter, Jr.
Thank you, Captain McCauley. Last but not least, I'd like to call our keynote speaker today, Colonel Glenn Goldman, up for the Cold War and Operation Enduring Freedom, killed in action.
The Cold War, Christopher J. Carey. Operation Enduring Freedom, Q. Hook Che.
Thank you, Colonel Goldman. At this point, it's my privilege and pleasure to introduce our keynote speaker. Glenn Goldman is the founder and president of Gold Enterprises and Solutions, providing leader development and organizational improvement consulting services for government, educational, and private organizations. He graduated from West Point in 1984 with a Bachelor of Science in International Relations. He has 2 master's degrees, Public Administration and Management, and National Security and Strategic Studies. Additionally, Glenn completed the West Point Master Teacher Program, along with numerous professional leadership, technical, and career development courses in schools. He holds the academic rank of Assistant Professor. Glenn successfully served as an officer in the United States Army on active duty for 30 plus years. He spent most of his time in field artillery, infantry, and airborne combat units, or the leader in leader development assignments. Glenn retired honorably from the Army in May 2014 after reaching the rank of colonel. During his military career, he served in a wide variety of command and staff assignments all over the United States, including Alaska and the National Camp Capital Region. His overseas service includes tours in Germany, Korea, Poland, Saudi Arabia, Iraq, Kosovo, Kuwait, Panama, and a lot of other places, so he's been around. He held several key leadership positions, including a platoon leader in West Germany during the Cold War. He also commanded a light infantry battery in the esteemed 82nd Airborne Division. He commanded artillery battalion at Fort Sill, Oklahoma, and military instruction and development program at the U.S. Military Academy at West Point. So he ran the Department of Military Instruction at West Point. Incredibly impressive. Including the academic major of Defense and Strategic Studies. His key staff assignments include service as an aide-de-camp, an executive officer in Alaska, fire support and logistics trainer in Germany, and a deputy chief of operations, U.S. Forces Korea. Glenn has extensive field artillery experience at all levels, from company to division, to include combat operations in Panama and Iraq. He also served as a personnel career manager in the Army Personnel Center, providing analysis and developmental career support, and managing the Army's Officer Corps. After leaving active duty in October 2015, Glenn worked at Granite Associates of Liberty, New York, where he was vice president and later chief of staff. In these roles, he oversaw operations, strategic planning, human resources, logistics, security, sustainment, philanthropy, and outreach functions, along with special project management. In January 2016, the Army recruited Glenn back to service as the Senior Civilian Advisor and Deputy Director of the Center for the Army Profession and Ethic, where he helped lead the Department of the Army's efforts in the Army profession, the Army ethic, and character development. Since June 19, Glenn is focused on family in his consulting business and even some golf. His military decorations include, get ready for this, Distinguished Service Medal, Legion of Merit, Bronze Stars, Meritorious Service Medals, and the German Cross of Honor. Along with campaign ribbons and medals for services and achievement, he's a master parachutist. With a combat jump, he jumped into Panama, Operation Hope. And yeah, I'm embarrassing him here, but we needed to honor him. So he's got a combat action badge, Ranger tab, Pathfinder badge, Sherman artillery. He's got everything. He's been married to his wonderful wife for 34 years. They have two wonderful daughters, married to two men of character. Ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce Colonel Glenn Goldman.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm so sorry you had to endure that. I had no idea. I wish my mom was here. She'd call him a liar. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, veterans, family members, and loved ones of deceased veterans, American patriots. Thank you for taking time this special Monday, Memorial Day 2025, to pause, reflect, appreciate, and to honor those members of the American Armed Forces who paid the ultimate sacrifice for our country, and to those who have served, survived, but have passed on. I'm so honored and delighted, but also very humbled to be here. When I look upon this crowd of American patriots gathered, not as separate special interest groups, opposing political parties, or individualized tribes, but simply as Americans. I'm reminded of how great our country truly is. I'm encouraged and filled with renewed faith and pride in our land, our ideals, and our republic. I'm proud of our history, our values, and our constant efforts to improve and create a more perfect union. I'm proud of and grateful for those who have gone before us and have sacrificed so that we may live free, prosper, and have the opportunity and continue our noble work to build a more perfect union. Memorial Day is truly a day when all real Americans can set aside their differences and unite to honor those who have made our country possible, who have ensured our liberty, and who have kept us safe. It's a day to reflect, to give thanks, to memorialize, but also to celebrate. I'm especially encouraged and thrilled to see so many young Americans here today as well. By being here, they're being patriotic and they're learning to appreciate what they have and what an immense blessing it is to live in this amazing country and to be an American. Thank you very much, youngsters, for being here and for honoring your heritage, and for those that have died, providing you the liberties that you enjoy. I challenge you to live a free life to its fullest and to cherish, preserve, and protect this country.
Amen.
So, I live just north of West Point, a small town called Cornwall. You might have heard of it. They're having their Memorial Day celebration at the same time as we speak, so it's my privilege to be here. So on the drive here today, I decided to leave a little early and stop by the cemetery at West Point to pay my respects and to have a short moment of reflection. If you've never been there, I highly recommend you take time to make the trip. I can assure you, you won't regret it. It's a very special place, as are all our veterans cemeteries. Arlington National Cemetery in Virginia is probably the most famous of these cemeteries for our veterans, but West Point is very special in its own right. It is actually America's first and oldest military cemetery. It was established in 1817 with graves going back all the way to the Revolutionary War. As of this year, there are just over 10,000 souls resting peacefully at West Point. All of them American patriots who somehow served or contributed to our nation's freedoms and defense. At West Point Cemetery, there are resting in honor and glory 18 Medal of Honor recipients, soldiers, cadets, astronauts, engineers, pilots, musicians, artists, authors, professors, inventors, and even a Heisman Trophy winner. They are all linked by their service to this nation, their contributions to freedom, and to West Point, or a special relationship. Many famous names, but many more not so famous. Each headstone has an important story. Sadly, many of these stories have faded with time, or the stories have not been retold often enough to impact the living. Given that today is Memorial Day, please allow me to share with you a very small sampling of some of the stories behind the headstones I visited this morning. Ensign Dominic Trant. He was a native of Ireland who served with the Knights Massachusetts Infantry. He died in 1792 at the age of 19 while serving at West Point during the Revolutionary War. His is the oldest known grave at the West Point Cemetery. Major General Edward White, he graduated from West Point in 1924 and served in the old Army Air Corps. He passed away from natural causes, outliving his two sons. His oldest son, Edward White II, he also graduated from West Point, became a pilot, and became the first American to walk in space. Sadly, Edward II was killed when the Apollo 1 command module caught fire on the launch pod. The second son, James White, the younger brother, went to the Air Force Academy and followed in his dad's and his older brother's footsteps, also becoming a pilot. James was shot down over Laos in 1969 and was missing in action for decades. His remains were eventually recovered and identified and laid to rest next to his dad and his older brother. Recently, actually not so recently, 2018. If you're a Civil War buff, you've probably seen that 3-hour-long classic movie called Gettysburg. The Battle of Gettysburg was the bloodiest battle on American soil, lasting 3 full days. You'll recall at the beginning of the movie when the actor Sam Elliott rides up and he envisions a horrible battle that would shortly take place on the land that he was standing upon. Sam Elliott was playing the role of Major General John Buford. He was one of the key heroes of the first day of the Battle of Gettysburg. He is buried at West Point. Right next to General John Buford is the grave of another key hero of the third and last day of the bloody battle. You'll recall the biggest event on the third day was Pickett's charge across the open field attempting to break the Union line. At the climax of the battle, just as Pickett's forces were violently smashing into the Union lines, the rebel attack was repelled by A Battery, 4th U.S. Field Artillery, at the cost of extremely heavy casualties on both sides. This outfit was commanded by a young West Pointer from the class of 1861. His name was Lieutenant Alonzo Cushing, and for his actions that day, he received the Medal of Honor, posthumely awarded by President Obama. He's buried right next to John Buford. So you have the hero of the first day buried next to the hero of the third day. One headstone at West Point actually has an inscription in German. I don't know if anybody here speaks German, but the inscription says, "Wir danken dem Garantor unserer Freiheit," which in English means, "We thank the guarantor of our freedom." That's the grave of General Lucius D. Clay, the former military governor of Berlin, and the orchestrator of that remarkable life-saving logistical feat, the Berlin airlift. That marker was placed there by the mayor of Berlin in 1978 to mark the 30th anniversary of the Berlin airlift. There's another grave of a two-star general who earned the Silver Star and the Purple Heart in Vietnam. He taught mechanical engineering at West Point, took part in the invasion of Grenada in 1983, and he later commanded the famed 10th Mountain Division stationed here at Fort Drum, New York. He was an amazing family member. He had 2 sons and a daughter and a grandson, all of them West Point graduates, and all of them veterans. That American hero's name is Peter Boylan, and I'm very proud to say that his oldest son, Pete Boylan, is one of my best friends and a classmate. Major General Boylan was buried at West Point last fall, and I was privileged to be there for that. Another hailstone at the West Point Cemetery that is very important and very dear to me is a hero, a local boy from New City, New York. He graduated from Don Bosco High School in Ramsey, New Jersey, went on to play hockey at West Point, and he graduated in 2000. He kind of picked me, I don't know why, to be one of his mentors, since we were both field artillery officers and had spent time together as paratroopers. He was an amazing guy, exceptionally competent, talented, with an infectious sense of humor. While serving in Afghanistan, I was emailing him. He was stationed there, I was still at West Point, and I was offering him advice and encouragement. And I offered to send him a care package. I said, Tommy, what do you need? Some beef jerky, candy, cigars, whatever you need, I'll send it. I asked him what he needed, but he never replied, because on the next day, August 8th, 2012, he was killed in action, leaving behind a wife and 2 kids. His name was Thomas E. Kennedy. I wear this bracelet in honor to remember his sacrifice, and I'm so proud to have known Tom Kennedy and to have the honor of having served with him. He was a dear friend. Another grave, Mrs. Helen Terry, who died in 1997, is also buried at West Point. I saw the headstone, and I noted there were no indications of rank, no decorations of military service. So I wondered, who is this lady, and why is she here amongst these heroes? As I approached the marker, I still didn't get my question answered. Only when I walked on the backside of the marker did I see that her husband was killed in Saipan in 1944, and that her son was killed in action in Vietnam. And I wondered to myself, how ever did Mrs. Terry celebrate Memorial Day during her days as a widow without her husband and her son? Another monument at West Point is Molly Corbin's monument, also in the cemetery. She served with George Washington and was the first woman to receive a military pension. After the Revolutionary War, she lived out her days in Highland Falls, a proud member of the Corps of Invalids, one of America's first veterans organizations. Lastly, a quick story about another veteran at the West Point Cemetery that you've never heard of. This guy's had a father. His father's name was Harry. Harry was a World War I veteran. Harry's wife died due to cancer after giving birth to 4 young boys. So Harry raised 4 boys during the Great Depression in the 1930s while running a tailor business in New York City. The older brother, Morty, in 1940, needed to leave the city. He just wanted 3 cots and a meal, the 3 square meals a day and a cot. So he joined the Army and was stationed in Pearl Harbor and was there during the Japanese attack and spent the next 4.5 years campaigning in the Pacific Islands. He returned to the family business and had enough of war. The second brother, Herbie, after Pearl Harbor, joined the Navy and flew on a Catalina boat. He campaigned throughout the Pacific as well. This person, this veteran, was 17 at the time. Needed special permission to join the Army. Harry, the father, said, I've been to World War I. I've already got your 2 older brothers in the fight. You're not going. You're staying here, and you're going to help with the family business. This veteran relented, kept banging on his father. The father finally signed the papers, and this veteran went off to war, serving in Germany, France, and Austria. Returned to the family business and assisted with that business. However, really appreciated the Army and its values, so he stayed in the reserves. His reserve unit was activated for Korea. After returning from Korea, he decided to become a professional soldier, did 2 years in Vietnam, served in the Army for 34 years. Got out of the Army and taught junior ROTC for another 30 years, teaching young Americans to be better citizens. After 65 years of federal service, he retired again and was asked, what are you going to do now? And he says, well, I guess I got to get a job. So he started working in the PX. And for those of you who don't know what PX is, it's basically the store on an Army base or a military base. And he was a stock boy and a cashier. He just wanted to continue to serve soldiers. This gentleman passed away in February of 2023 at the age of 96. That guy's name is Jack Golden. That's my father. I sincerely hope that my service did him and his brothers, my uncles, justice. Many of you here today have similar stories, and I would encourage you to tell them. It's so appropriate that we're here today on Memorial Day to remember those who had the courage to go into harm's way and to put service before self and paid with their lives. Those who wear or have worn the uniform, their families understand the price they might be asked to pay. So we honor those who choose to serve, and in doing so made that sacrifice. General Frederick Trosten, an amazing soldier who fought in World War II, Korea, and Vietnam, he passed away in 2020. At a memorial speech that he gave several years ago, I was privileged to attend, he was commanding U.S. Army Europe. And I'd like to share with you as a closing comment his description of the legacy left by soldiers, sailors, Marines, airmen, and Coast Guardsmen when he stated, their legacy is a population living in freedom. Their charge is that we, the living, guarantee a continuation of that legacy for coming generations. We need only respect and understand that great decisions of history have been made, decided mostly by war and by the soldier. So, we the living are the heirs of that legacy and must always be the guardian of their dreams. It falls to us to stand against those who sow the seeds of war and to stand with those who take risks in peace. This is our time. This is our country. We must keep the spirit with which they so bravely fought. We must pledge to carry on their work for our children and for generations to come. We can pay them no greater honor than to cherish that sacred legacy of freedom and to make it clear that we are committed to its preservation, whatever the cost. Our military patriots who have laid down their lives for us have left behind spouses, sons and daughters, and other loved ones who serve valiantly for this country. I ask you to remember those families and those loved ones who were left behind. As our armed forces continue operations around the world to keep us safe and to protect our way of life, I urge each of you to keep your service members, including their supporting civilians, in your thoughts and prayers. One final thought. When I was on active duty, I still get it, and I heard it a lot today, I hear people say, thank you for your service. I always felt kind of sheepish about that, and I know most people who say that, they say it with kindness, and they mean it with sincerity. But there were times while I was on active duty and I would travel in uniform on airports, and somebody would say, hey, thank you for your service. And what I really felt them saying to me was, I'm glad it's you and not my kid. And I was angry and it was an immature attitude. But the phrase kind of became overused. It became a social requirement or something that society just expected people to say. So don't take this the wrong way. I do appreciate when people say thank you for your service, and my answer to them is usually, well, thank you. I had the privilege of serving with some amazing Americans. I wish you could have met many of them. So today I would ask you, when you say thank you for your service, then please continue to do so. It is appreciated. But take action. What a veteran really wants you to say when you say thank you for your service, I would charge you, be an American worth fighting for. What I mean by that is, stand up for American ideals. When people say thank you for your service, I did that as a volunteer, and it was my privilege and high honor to serve as a professional soldier on active duty for 34 years. So I have no grudges. But as a veteran, I want you to be an American worth fighting for. And what I mean by that is follow the law, pay your taxes, be active in your communities as you are here today, and I salute you for that. Serve others, promote our values and our ideals, know and understand and appreciate American history. Speak out against evil. Guard against threats against our nation. Speak with civility with each other. Attack the issue, not the person. Use the golden rule. By being Americans worth fighting for, I believe we can best honor the veterans and those who have served. So ladies and gentlemen, I thank you for coming here today. I want to thank my friend Peter for inviting me here. I'm sorry again that you had to endure that overly inflated bio. Thank you very sincerely for allowing me to be here to celebrate with you and to honor our past veterans. It was indeed my great honor and high privilege. May God bless our armed forces, our first responders, and may God bless America. Thank you so much.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's not my fault that this list of accomplishments is so long. I'd also like to, as Jim before let us know that April 30th, 2025 was 50-year anniversary of the end of Vietnam. I'd also like to throw out two other dates. One is June 6th of 2024, which was last year, just after the parade last year, and that was the 80th anniversary of D-Day, the greatest generation. And I got the opportunity to go over and spend time at the American Cemetery in Normandy. And as Glenn was just talking about as far as going to West Point, visiting the cemetery, I've got something else to put on your bucket list. If you haven't been to Normandy, the American Cemetery in Normandy, I highly advise putting it on your bucket list. It's beyond words. Words cannot do it justice as far as trying to describe it to you, but put that on your bucket list. And then of course we have July 4th, 2026 next year. It's going to be Happy Birthday, United States of America. Round of applause. 250 years old. So with that, I'd also like to thank, Major Rachel Kim, who was our keynote speaker last year, and she was kind enough to come back here, so you get a chance to go over and say hi. She's a professor in our social science department at West Point professor coming back down, and also has a long list of accomplishments like Colonel Goldman. At this point in the program, I would like to welcome, watch out, Wendy. I'd like to welcome, we're going to do the presentation of the wreath by Girl Scout Troop 1444. I welcome them.
All right, slow and steady. Over here. Thank you. Shake your hands. Well done, well done.
All right, thanks again, Girl Scout Troop 1444. Round of applause, please. At this point in the program, we are privileged to have the 5th New York Regiment Revolutionary War Squad, who's going to perform a musket volley for us. So with those words, watch your ears. Parade, attention! Parade, present arms! Parade! Order! Arms! Parade! At ease! Thank you, 5th New York Regiment Revolutionary War Squad. Round of applause. At this point in the program, we have our very own Rowan Christensen from Horace Greeley High School, who's going to perform taps for us. Parade, attention! Present arms! Parade, order, arms. Parade, at ease. Thank you, Roan. At this point, I'm privileged to present the Horace Greeley High School students again, playing the Star Spangled Banner. Parade, attention. Parade, present arms. Thank you so much, Horace Greeley High School Band. At this point, I'd like to welcome Reverend Alan Christopher Lee up to the podium for our benediction.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for sticking around. I'm the Reverend Chris Lee, and I bring you greetings on behalf of the Church of St. Mary the Virgin, strategically located just up the hill there next to the Bell School. We are a vibrant faith community, and our mission is to love and serve and bless this community in the name of Jesus Christ, and our doors are open to all. I'd like to thank the town of Newcastle for inviting me to give the benediction this morning. Thank all my fellow speakers and performers, and most importantly, thanks to you all for being here. Now let us pray. God of love and mercy, grace and abundance, we ask your blessing on us this morning, having remembered those who have died while serving in our country's armed forces. We give thanks for their courage and for their sacrifice. They gave their lives to preserve the principles that have made our country unique and uniquely inspiring among nations. They gave their lives to ensure that every American enjoys the freedom of speech, the right to due process, and the ability to freely worship the God of their ancestors, or no God at all. They gave their lives to preserve a society that has stood up generation after generation against dictators and strongmen who have nothing but contempt for democracy and the rule of law. They were parents and spouses, siblings and friends. They were often unsung and unknown heroes who gave their lives to defend a country whose commitment to the peaceful transfer of power was the envy of the world. And so today we ask you, dear God, to let their memory be a blessing to us and an inspiration, so that we too might have the strength and courage to resist tyranny wherever it may appear. Remind us that as Jesus told his disciples, when we hear of wars and rumors of wars, we can be sure that your story for us ends not with violence and destruction, but eternal life and peace. Creator God, pour into our hearts that peace which, although it's beyond our understanding, is your gift to and your dream for all your creatures. And now may God bless us and keep us. May God make his face to shine upon us and be gracious to us. May God lift up his countenance upon us and give us peace. Amen. God bless you. I want to thank all of you for coming out today on this very special Memorial Day. I want to remind you, as Colonel Goldman did, to go out that selfless service isn't just military, it's for all of us Americans. So I advise us all to go out and serve our community, serve our families, serve our friends, and serve our country. And today, remember all those that gave their lives for all of our freedom. And with that, I'd like to call the parade to attention. Parade, attention! Parade, dismissed! Enjoy your day.
Well guys, I know not my typical video that you guys would watch, but how cool, unique, and different was that Memorial Day parade? We missed most of it to get a good spot at the ceremony. And I got a funny story for you guys. I actually had Bill sign two things. Hillary signed one thing for me, and the Secret Service, man, they were like, no more signatures, no more signatures. I'm like, come on, man, like, did I do something wrong? Like, can he just sign it? So I got him to sign a admission ticket for his presidential library down in Arkansas, Little Rock. I went back in 2009 before I did YouTube videos, so I had him sign that, as well as, hard to see, but the bottom of this Pez dispenser is signed. All right, now for the funny story. I had my tripod set up, and I had my camera set up, and I was recording, and you know, President Clinton, Hillary Clinton, you know, a lot going on, a lot of people want to see them. I left this bag when I went to go move the tripod, basically right in front of, like, I don't know what they call them, cattle railings or whatever they are, the fencing that they put up, temporary fencing. And I didn't realize I was missing it until about halfway through the ceremony, which I was only about 15 feet away. And I go, oh my God, I forgot my camera bag. I'm like checking my book bag for the camera bag, and I can't find it. I left this right by the fencing. Well, the Secret Service apparently asked everybody around, was that their bag? And this was sitting basically in front of Hillary and Bill Clinton, about 4 feet away. Very scary. You know, of course, it was they called it a suspicious package, and you know, we're worried about it. So luckily, it was just a camera and a camera bag. But yeah, I got it back. I retrieved it back at the end of the ceremony. The Secret Service had it in their vehicle, and pretty scary. I would imagine that yeah, you wouldn't want this around. And I'm just glad to get it back. And obviously, it's not a suspicious package. Well, it is a suspicious package, but it's not anymore. So hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, like, share, subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching, everybody.